Okay, so this is going to be the first part of overview of Photoshop CC. And again, I'll just go over the basic four components that you find in Photoshop CC. First off, we have the tool palette. And with each tool, you have an options panel. And every time you change the tool, the option panel will change accordingly. So the option panel is directly related to the specific tool you happen to be on. Then you have the drop-down menu, which just goes over basic operations in Photoshop, and also where to find things and save and edit as well. And these are where you can open up your different palettes that you need, or panels as they may refer to them in the later versions. And then you have your individual panels, and the panels can be moved out. Each panel has a drop-down menu that's specific to itself. You also have up in the workspace area different setups so that the panels will be specific to whatever type of operation you're working on. Okay, you can also put panels together on the panels as well. There usually are a number of different shortcut icons that you'll find down below, typically operations that you may do more frequently with this particular panel, etc. So those would be the four areas: the tools, the option panel, the drop-down menu, and the panels. Also, one other thing too is you do have the preferences where you can get in there and make changes regarding the overall look of Photoshop, and whether it's to change colors of backgrounds, change look of tools, change your history log, change colors of guides and grids. This is where you would do some of those options. Okay, so let's go over the tool panel again and talk about how it's organized. Adobe basically puts its selection tools in the upper section here, which you can see divided by a narrow line. And you also know that any tool that has that little bottom right arrow on it will also have multiple tools that you can select from. Okay? And also, just to let you know that you can be on one tool but then go down the column, and that the option panel can change depending on what tool is in there. So just to be aware of that. The next set of tools are what we refer to as the painting or manipulation tools, and they work with everything such as color and texture and shading and you name it. So that's where you would find here. And then these four tools here are what we refer to as vector tools. We have the pen tool, the text tool, and then we have the direct select tool and the path tool that is used in conjunction with shapes you make with the pen tool or with the shape tool right here. And in the shape tool, you can also go to custom shape tools. And then we have our miscellaneous tools. You have your hand, which is used when you're zoomed in and you want to move around a document. You can also use the space bar for this, and that would be the quick way to do that without having to go back and forth to the tools. And the magnifying glass to zoom in, zoom out. And we have our foreground color and background color, and that can be changed by clicking this little arrow here. Okay, and you can change the color by going into the color picker, and then it will switch. This is quick mask mode. If I want to edit in a quick mask mode, this would be where I would find that selection. And this panel here just changes the screen mode or the view of your window. Okay, so now, and I'll get back to the tools in a little bit here. We're just going to go and create a new document. And so, of course, you can title it, but one thing to remember is that in the document type, you actually have the ability to set it up for various types of substrates, you know, or production styles. So if I was going to be doing my graphic design for the web, I would go and more or less pick the web, because what it's going to do is it's going to lay out the measurements and what I need that are similar to what I would be using when I was working with the web. Okay, again, custom. Custom is probably the one I use the most because I'm making various different size documents. But if you were printing on a kiosk and you wanted a 5x7 print, you could type that in here and know that your image is going to be work within a 5x7 kiosk setting. Now with layers, it defaults to white, and I would recommend strongly just defaulting to transparent because it's easier to see your work and your layers underneath. You can always turn them off if you don't want to see them. But sometimes just for layout purposes, it is nice to be able to see what is underneath. Okay, so you click OK, and we have our basic document. Now, if you remember, Command plus zooms in, Command minus zooms out, Command 0 fits it right into the window. And it looks like it's not going to want to be all the way up there. Let me change to Mac mode here so I can I wonder if it's going to let me do this here. Let me just try this here. iMac mode. There we go. Yeah, I can get that change in the screen, so I'm just going to have to move this out. Just bear with me a little bit here. Okay, that's a little bit better. Now we can at least see everything in the window. Okay, so I have this new document. It's transparent, and I have my layers panel here, and you can see that I have one layer. If I were to be renaming a layer, I just lightly double click on it, and I can, you know, name it anything I want. It's a great way to keep organized. Also in the layer panel, they have different options that you can do, such as grouping and locking layers, blending them, flattening them, etc. But you also have these same things that you can access down here. You know, this is basically blending options, so layer styles. And the thing is I can go up to layer styles and get to it this way, but it's nice, quick, and easy to just click on the FX and do it there. Adding a layer mask, you know, you can create a new fill or adjustment layer, create a new group, create a new layer. So all these icons are down here. Just to make things easier and quicker. And if you're asked about any of these in your Photoshop ACA, it seems to me that they're expecting you to go to these shortcut icons for that purpose. History panel generally defaults to 20 history states. If you wanted to change that, you would go up here, and I think it's in performance, but we'll go to history log and see. I think it's in performance, and right, you can see I have 50 history states here, but this is where you would be changing it. The problem is you have to remember the more history states you use, the more memory it takes up. Okay, so I can open a new document here. I can create a new document like we did. If I want to get into Bridge and browse my files in Bridge, this is where I would go to do that. I think also in Windows we have, I was going to see where Mini Bridge was, but okay, well, we'll come back to that. I can also open up a file as a smart object, and I can do this by opening it up in Camera Raw as well. If I'm going to be doing a save for web, I have to save for web in my document here, but now where's my save for web here? Export, oh yeah, okay, that's right, they put in an export now. So that's where you're going to save for web right here. It used to have its own place in the columns here, so especially if you're using Photoshop lower than CC, just remember you'll save to web here. Placing photos in as well, placing graphics in. In Automate, you have things where you can do a batch saving, where you can do multiple objects or documents at the same time. You can make a PDF presentation, crop and straighten photos. This is also where you can make a contact sheet. And the contact sheet allows you to make little miniature photos on one contact or on one document, so that if you want to show people's examples of the photo shoot, you would make that here. So there's lots of photo merge, panoramic, etc. So anyways, you got your printing dialog box here as well. In the print, we talked a little bit about this. And we talked about proof and hard proofing. Definitely is really good when you're working with clients to get approval for the final design. Soft proofing is a little nicer because you actually make a hard copy of it, either on the substrate or on paper, and have them look at that. And even though it's more work, it can be very cost effective because the client, if they have to make changes, you can go back and make changes, whereas if you do the hard proof and get that accepted, it can end up costing a lot of money. So print settings for each computer, generally this is where you would go set things such as what type of paper you're going to be using, just different paper handling, various printer settings, supply levels on your inks, and also this is where you would set the size of your printer paper as well. And depending on what type of printer you have, you can flip, designs horizontally, etc. Okay, so in the next menu here, we just have things such as editing and copying and adding a stroke, checking spelling. This is where a lot of our transform tools are. And if you remember, we can do various things such as scale, rotate, skew our design, distort, do a perspective warp, and rotate, flip horizontally, etc. This is also where I can create and define my brushes and patterns if I want to put new ones into Photoshop. So this is where you can make some changes to keyboard shortcuts here. So it's about 14 minutes into the presentation here, and I don't want to get going too much on another application here and have the timer shut out. So this is part one. We're going to close it off here, and then I will begin part two and bring in some objects, etc., and show some of the different things that we can do in Photoshop with that.